Test, trace, isolate.
Test, trace, isolate.
Test, trace, and isolate.
Test, trace, isolate.
Test, trace, isolate.
Test, trace, isolate.
Test, trace, isolate approach will only work if you, the public, are willing to do what we ask of you.
All roads back to work and back to school lead through testing, tracking, isolation, treatment, and vaccine.
But the most effective way to prevent infections and save lives is breaking the chains of transmission. And to do that, you must test and isolate.
Countries, if they're going to be able to move away from this approach of having to lock down and shut down, if we're going to move away from that approach as a means of suppressing the virus, we have got to put in place the public health surveillance, the isolation, the quarantine, the case finding, the detection. We have got to be able to show that we can go after the virus, because lockdowns alone will not work.
Getting things fixed, getting back to normal and reopening the economy will require three key things: more testing to catch outbreaks before they get out of control, contact tracing to identify anyone an infected person came in contact with, and isolation to break the chain of transmission. Test, trace, isolate is the mantra. And it's the tracing part where the right to individual privacy collides with the need to protect public health.
You've probably heard a lot lately about contact tracing. It's this public health tool to try to stop infectious disease outbreaks.
The major thrust of how we're going to control and make sure that we continue to keep this nation open is early case recognition, isolation, and contact tracing. That's the fundamentals of public health.
Testing,
that's what we're going to do.
Isolating those who are infected, contact tracing, and quarantining the contacts. That's a box. You get those four things right, you can keep a virus in the box so we can come out more readily.
Contact tracing is essential, just as all the other guests have said. And it's going to be challenging in some communities because technology is going to be important. Having smartphones where you can load apps and be able to contact people that way. In a lot of communities, there's a technology gap and you won't be able to do that. So we're still going to need a small army of individuals to do the kind of investigation just to track people down.
Tracing agents in the hundreds and hundreds of people, right? You take the test and then you trace back all the contacts. It's never been done on this scale before. This is an army of tracers that basically investigate.
Effectively, what it would do is it would take some of those folks that are frankly already sidelined from AmeriCorps, Peace Corps, other service organizations like that, and it would redeploy and reskill and retrain them, and it would augment them as well. And those folks would be the boots on the ground that would do the tracking and testing and tracing and hopefully even the treating in terms of inoculation and vaccination, alongside of the already existing community support networks and the already existing professional health
this virtual group of contact tracers would contact anybody who has tested positive to learn about their recent activities, who they may have been in contact with, and ensure that they can take steps to make sure that they can stay healthy and not spread the virus any further.
Find the embers and stomp them out before they become a wildfire.
Exactly right.
Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker announced the first statewide contact tracing program last month. It's grown into a 1,000-person team, reaching hundreds of patients
Massachusetts has invested $44 million in disease detectives who will reach at least 120,000 close contacts, all of it critical to bending
Oregon
the
State
curve.
University and Benton County Health Department have joined forces to provide door-to-door testing for residents in the Corvallis community.
Teams have taken COVID-19 testing to your doorstep.
For public health providers, this is like fighting a forest fire without seeing the fire.
The plan? To test 960 people over the next 4 weeks. That adds up to just under 4,000 residents
in Fulton and DeKalb counties greeted by CDC officials surveying the community.
We're working with the Georgia Department of Public Health and the DeKalb Department of Public Health to do a seroprevalence survey around the community in DeKalb County to determine the community transmission for coronavirus.
Officials randomly selecting houses and drawing blood for antibodies and conducting a questionnaire to better
This
understand.
week, help to test more people for COVID-19 came to people living in public housing. The Tennessee National Guard helped MDHA perform the tests and get a better picture on how the virus is affecting low-income.
You can't have the military show up and say, come get tested. That's not going to happen. But if you have the military in their medical uniforms, in their PPEs, it's a whole different story.
Google and Apple are using technology to help track the spread of the coronavirus. The two companies want to create a tool that would let you know if you were ever in contact with somebody who tested positive.
You're looking at a demonstration of a new program called Fleming.
Sick people will have red color indication.
Developed by the Israeli cyber intelligence firm NSO, it uses cell phone and public health data to identify where people infected with the coronavirus are and who they're coming in contact with.
What you see on the screen is someone who's sick stayed in a location long enough, so that location itself is regarded as infected.
This pilot scheme, because it protects the island better and it protects my at-risk groups, because the track, taste and test scheme is going to enable us to find where the virus is on the island. And by looking after those people with it, we can get to kill it faster. And the information that we're going to give is going to provide a roadmap to how the app functions in 2 or 3 weeks' time when it is rolled out nationally.
You're in Beijing, where this is your passport for everything. It's a health code generated by your phone that proves you're virus-free, and you need it to book a train ticket, get into a grocery store, even to go to a coffee shop.
Even in Westport, Connecticut, police were set to deploy a drone that could monitor people's temperatures. NSO won't disclose which countries are using its software, but NBC News has confirmed NSO is marketing Fleming in the U.S.
In most parts of the world, due to lockdown, most of the transmission that's actually happening in many countries now is happening in the household, at family level. In some senses, transmission has been taken off the streets and pushed back into family units. Now we need to go and look in families to find those people who may be sick and remove them and isolate them in a safe and dignified manner.
Dr. Dean Xeris took us inside this COVID hotel for the most vulnerable.
Hola, Wendy.
Wendy Rosales found out over the phone last week she was exposed to COVID-19. After testing positive, she's now quarantined for 14 days.
How hard is it to be away from your family?
Es duro. It's very hard. Lloramos todos. We cry every day.
You cry every day?
But she's hopeful this will protect her loved ones.
When it comes to contact tracing, how are you guys going to handle people or families who want to refuse a test or to self-isolate if they want to leave their home to get groceries? I know you said they can't do that. How will you make sure they don't?
Well, that's why I referred to the family support personnel. We will have attached to the families a family support person who will check in with them to see what they need on a daily basis.
Hearing the sounds of some of the people in the rooms next door yelling and begging to be let out of the room because they're desperate for fresh air.
Why are you keeping me stranded in here? You have no idea. You can't keep people locked up in their rooms.
No, we need
They do nothing.
sunshine.
Yeah.
Sunshine, here.
Exercise.
Can't even
You know,
get
when
fresh
we have
air.
to go into some of these ALFs and move people out or go into family homes, like in some of these, when we're going into some of these homes and we have to separate an individual to isolate them, they need, you know, we need to make sure that they get care, that they have food, that they have support to be isolated from their home or their family.
For older people on their own, and then they're really suffering. I can hear people down the hallway crying, and there's a woman who's hysterical and pleading to be let out, and she's having panic attacks. Her husband's distraught. There's people who need blood pressure medication, cholesterol tablets, insulin, and they're calling me and they're asking for help. And what to do.
Providing really dignified isolation and treatment of everyone who's sick. And it's ensuring that people can be quarantined and at times separated in a very supportive way.
Right to refuse to be vaccinated against a contagious disease. Public health, the police power of the Constitution, gives the state the power to compel that, and there are cases in the United States that bring
I think
forth.
we're going to have a vaccine by the end of the year. We're doing very well with a vaccine. And I will tell you something, I just literally left a meeting. We're mobilizing our military and other forces, but we're mobilizing our military on the basis that we do have a vaccine. You know, it's a massive job to give this vaccine. Our military is now being mobilized. So at the end of the year, we're going to be able to give it to a lot of people very, very rapidly.
Let me put it very clearly. You have no constitutional right to endanger the public and spread a disease, even if you disagree. You have no right not to be vaccinated. You have
no right not to be vaccinated, meaning if they decide you have to be vaccinated, we have to be vaccinated?
Absolutely. And if you refuse to be vaccinated, the state has the power to literally take you to a doctor's office and plunge a needle into your arm.
Though an host shall encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. The war shall rise against me, in this will I be confident. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon a rock. Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth, not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn.